What if everything you've been taught about money is fundamentally wrong? Right now, millions of people are struggling financially, convinced that their money problems stem from factors beyond their control: the economy, inflation, their boss who refuses to give them a raise, or simply bad luck that seems to follow them wherever they go. Has this ever happened to you? You work harder than everyone else, stay longer hours, cut every possible expense, and yet somehow your bank account stubbornly refuses to grow. You watch as others seemingly attract wealth effortlessly, while you're caught in an endless cycle of financial strain, wondering why abundance feels like a distant dream reserved for other people. But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our future videos. Here's what might shock you. Your financial situation has absolutely nothing to do with the economy, your job title, or even how hard you work. What you're about to discover might surprise you, but every dollar that flows into or out of your life is controlled by something far more powerful than any earthly institution. It's governed by divine law. These aren't the financial principles you learned about in school or read in money management books. These are spiritual frequencies operating completely independently of worldly circumstances, responding not to market conditions or government decisions, but to your personal alignment with universal principles that have governed abundance since the beginning of time. Think about this for a moment. Why do some people seem to effortlessly attract wealth, while others, equally intelligent and hard-working, struggle their entire lives? The answer lies in understanding that money is not random, not political, and certainly not personal. It's obedient to spiritual law. If you're currently experiencing financial stress or that constant feeling of never having enough, I want you to consider a radical possibility. You're not unlucky, you're not cursed, and you haven't been forgotten by the universe. Instead, you're simply out of alignment with the divine frequencies that govern abundance. This misalignment creates a spiritual disconnection from what is actually your natural birthright, a life of prosperity and flow. Most people spend their entire lives trying to fix their money problems by changing external circumstances, getting a better job, moving to a different city, learning new skills. But what if the real issue isn't out there in the world, but within the invisible realm of spiritual vibration? What if your financial reality is simply mirroring back to you the exact frequency you're unconsciously broadcasting every day through your thoughts, words, and beliefs? Stay with me until the end, because what I'm about to reveal will completely transform not just how you think about money, but how money responds to you. There are 7 specific divine laws that control every financial transaction in your life, and once you understand how to align with them, your entire relationship with money will be transformed forever. If you found value in these spiritual money laws, hit that subscribe button right now. I share these profound spiritual truths every week to help you transform your financial reality through divine alignment. This hidden truth explains one of life's most perplexing mysteries: why some people seem to attract wealth effortlessly while others with equal, sometimes superior intelligence, education, and work ethic struggle financially their entire lives. Look around you. We all know someone who seems to have the Midas touch, where everything they touch turns to gold. Meanwhile, others work themselves to exhaustion, yet can barely keep their heads above water. The distinction isn't about luck, connections, or even talent. It's about alignment. Those who prosper have, often unknowingly, aligned themselves with the spiritual frequencies that govern abundance. Those who struggle remain disconnected from these same frequencies, creating an invisible barrier between themselves and the prosperity that should naturally flow into their lives. This revelation is both liberating and challenging. Liberating because it means your financial destiny isn't controlled by external forces beyond your reach. Challenging because it places the responsibility squarely in your hands. The journey toward abundance requires internal transformation rather than external manipulation. When you experience persistent financial stress, recurring money problems, or that constant background anxiety about bills, you're receiving clear feedback from the universe. These aren't random hardships or bad luck. They're precise indicators that something in your spiritual alignment is off. Your financial reality is simply mirroring back to you the exact frequency you're unconsciously broadcasting through your thoughts, beliefs, and especially your spoken words. The hidden truth behind this misalignment is that prosperity isn't something you need to chase or struggle for. It's your natural birthright. Just as a tree naturally grows toward the sun without strain or effort, abundance should flow into your life with that same natural inevitability. When it doesn't, it's because something is blocking that natural flow. Now, I want to go even deeper into this fundamental understanding of how your vibrational state directly impacts your financial reality. Most people spend their entire lives trying to fix their money problems by changing their external circumstances, getting a better job, moving to a different city, learning new skills, or following the latest investment strategy. But what if the real issue isn't out there in the world, but within the invisible realm of spiritual vibration? Behind the scenes of every financial breakthrough is a profound mindset shift that precedes the visible changes in circumstance. The journey toward abundance begins not with strategic action, but with vibrational alignment. This invisible transformation creates the foundation upon which all material wealth is built. Your current financial situation is essentially a printout of your spiritual condition, a precise reflection of the frequency you've been broadcasting, often without realizing it. The revelations that come when you begin to understand this connection can completely revolutionize your relationship with money. Write in the comments, "I choose alignment," if you're beginning to see how your internal state directly affects your external financial reality. The most profound revelation behind financial transformation isn't about working harder or finding better opportunities. It's about recognizing that money responds to vibration, not effort. This might sound abstract at first, but think about your own journey with money. You've probably noticed people who seem to effortlessly attract opportunities, while others grind themselves into exhaustion with little to show for it. The difference isn't talent, education, or even luck. It's the energetic frequency they're broadcasting into the universe. Every single moment, every thought you think, every word you speak, every belief you hold about money creates a specific vibration that either magnetizes abundance toward you or repels it away. When your internal frequency is aligned with prosperity, money flows naturally. When it's misaligned, you can work 24 hours a day and still struggle financially. This is why some entrepreneurs build million-dollar businesses, while others, with identical strategies, fail repeatedly. The uncomfortable truth is that you cannot outwork spiritual misalignment. No amount of hustling, grinding, or pushing harder can compensate for contradictory beliefs and misaligned energy running in the background of your subconscious mind. It's like trying to drive forward with the parking brake engaged. The harder you press the accelerator, the more resistance you create. Most people live their entire lives trapped in this exhausting cycle. They believe that success comes from more action, more sacrifice, more hours invested. They follow every business strategy, attend every seminar, read every success book. Yet their bank account remains frustratingly stagnant. The missing piece isn't another technique or tactic. It's understanding that your energetic blueprint determines your financial reality. This transformation in perspective changes everything. Instead of chasing money through force and struggle, you begin attracting it through alignment and flow. Instead of feeling powerless against economic circumstances, you realize you hold the remote control to your financial experience through your vibrational choices. The hidden truth behind this process is both simple and profound, requiring a complete shift in how you approach wealth building. Rather than asking, "How can I make more money?" the question becomes, "How can I become the kind of person money naturally flows to?" This journey toward vibrational alignment isn't about denying reality or avoiding practical action. It's about ensuring that your actions arise from an aligned state rather than from desperation or fear. Subscribe to this channel if you're ready to master the spiritual principles that govern wealth. Join our community of abundance-minded individuals who are learning to command prosperity rather than chase it. Behind the scenes of every lasting financial breakthrough is this fundamental shift from striving to allowing, from forcing to flowing. Those who master this inner alignment discover that the universe responds not to their sweat and tears, but to their vibration and clarity. They experience what feels like luck to others, but is actually the natural result of internal coherence. The revelations that come from this understanding completely transform not just your financial situation, but your entire relationship with the concept of work, effort, and achievement. You begin to see that genuine prosperity comes not from exhausting yourself, but from aligning yourself with the abundant nature of the universe itself. Write in the comments, "Vibration over effort," if you're beginning to understand how your energy matters more than your actions when it comes to attracting wealth. Now, I want to go even deeper into understanding how this vibrational frequency actually works in your daily life. You are essentially broadcasting a spiritual signal every moment of every day, whether you realize it or not. Think of yourself as a human radio tower, constantly transmitting a specific frequency into the universe. This broadcast isn't random or accidental. It's precisely calibrated by your thoughts, words, and deeply held beliefs about money. When you wake up in the morning and immediately worry about bills, you're broadcasting lack. When you complain to a friend about how expensive everything is becoming, you're transmitting scarcity. When you think to yourself, "I'll never be able to afford that," you're sending a powerful signal that pushes abundance away from you. Each of these moments might seem insignificant in isolation, but together they create a consistent vibrational pattern that the universe responds to with mathematical precision. The hidden truth behind manifestation is that your financial reality isn't responding to your occasional positive affirmations or vision boards. It's responding to your dominant frequency, the one you broadcast most consistently throughout your days. This explains why many people experience brief financial luck that quickly reverts to their normal pattern of struggle. Their core vibration hasn't fundamentally changed. Behind the scenes of lasting financial transformation is a complete rewiring of this broadcast system. Those who master abundance understand that their thoughts about money are not private or inconsequential. They're powerful creative forces shaping their material reality. They guard their mental and verbal patterns with the same vigilance they would guard their physical possessions, understanding that a single negative thought about money can undo hours of positive programming. The impact of this understanding reveals why so many people remain trapped in an exhausting cycle of more effort, more sacrifice, and more hustle, yet see minimal financial return. They're attempting to solve a vibrational problem with physical solutions. They follow every business strategy, implement every expert technique, work longer hours than everyone else, yet their bank accounts remain stubbornly stagnant. This revelation completely transforms your approach to wealth building. Instead of asking, "What more can I do?" you begin asking, "How can I shift my dominant frequency? The journey toward financial freedom becomes less about external strategies and more about internal harmony, aligning your conscious desires with your subconscious programming so they're broadcasting the same message. The transformative mindset shift occurs when you realize that prosperity isn't something you chase through exhaustion and sacrifice. It's something you allow through vibrational coherence. Money responds not to desperation and force, but to alignment and flow. When your thoughts, words, beliefs, and expectations all broadcast the same frequency of abundance, you become an irresistible magnet that money naturally flows toward. Write in the comments, I am a prosperity broadcaster, if you're beginning to see how your daily thoughts and words directly shape your financial reality. This revelation leads us to a fundamental shift in how we approach wealth creation. The 7 divine laws operate on this exact principle. They work through frequency, not force. They respond to your spiritual decisions about who you are and what you deserve, not your physical efforts to manipulate external conditions. When you align with these laws, money begins moving toward you with the same inevitability that water flows downhill. The path to financial freedom requires a complete transformation in your relationship with abundance. Most people spend their entire lives pushing against an invisible wall, wondering why prosperity remains just beyond their reach. They exhaust themselves trying different strategies, techniques, and approaches, all while broadcasting a frequency that contradicts their conscious desires. Behind the scenes of every financial breakthrough is a profound identity shift. Someone stopped identifying as a person who struggles with money and began embodying the energy of someone who naturally attracts wealth. This isn't pretending or fake it till you make it. It's about genuine, energetic alignment that changes your entire relationship with abundance. The journey toward alignment begins with a single question that completely rewrites your financial destiny. How can I become the kind of person money naturally flows to? Notice how different this is from asking, how can I make more money? The first question leads to internal transformation. The second keeps you trapped in external striving. When you focus on becoming rather than acquiring, everything shifts. Your decisions arise from a completely different place. You start making choices based on expansion rather than desperation, abundance rather than scarcity, confidence rather than fear. You naturally attract opportunities that previously seemed unavailable to you, not because they weren't there, but because your vibrational frequency made them invisible to your perception. The hidden truth behind this approach is that money is not something you chase, it's something you attract through resonance. Just as a tuning fork vibrating at a specific frequency will cause another tuning fork of the same frequency to start vibrating in harmony. Your energetic signature either resonates with abundance or repels it. This understanding creates a profound impact on your daily experience. You stop exhausting yourself, trying to force financial outcomes, and start focusing on calibrating your internal state. The revelations that come from this practice extend far beyond money. They transform your entire relationship with manifestation and creation. Think about the most financially abundant people you know. What makes them different isn't just their actions, it's their fundamental orientation toward wealth. They don't desperately chase money, they confidently expect it. They don't anxiously worry about scarcity, they naturally embody prosperity. They've mastered the art of energetic alignment that makes them magnetic to financial opportunities. Now, I want to reveal something powerful about your current relationship with abundance. You are essentially operating as a spiritual bank every single day, whether you realize it or not. Every word that comes out of your mouth functions as either a deposit or a withdrawal in your energetic account with the universe. Write in the comments, I'm becoming magnetic to money, if you're ready to shift your focus from chasing wealth to becoming the kind of person who naturally attracts it. Every thought you entertain generates interest, either positive or negative, that compounds over time and directly impacts your financial reality. Think about the conversations you've had just this week. When you said, "I can't afford that," you made a withdrawal. When you complained about being broke, another withdrawal. When you joked about your financial struggles or spoke about money with fear and anxiety, you were essentially telling the universe to deduct funds from your spiritual account. But here's the fascinating part. When you speak about abundance, express gratitude for what you have, or declare your financial goals with confidence, you're making substantial deposits that accumulate spiritual interest. This hidden mechanism operates behind the scenes of your daily life, silently recording every financial thought and translating it into your lived experience. Most people unknowingly bankrupt themselves spiritually through careless speech and negative thinking patterns, then wonder why their physical bank account reflects the same emptiness. The words you choose aren't just descriptive, they're creative. They don't just report your financial reality, they actively shape it with every syllable you utter. The impact of understanding this principle transforms your entire approach to daily conversation. That casual comment about never having enough money, it's not just an observation, it's a command to the universe. That joke about being broke until payday, it's actually programming scarcity into your experience. The offhand remark about how you always struggle with money, it's reinforcing the very pattern you're trying to break. Behind the scenes of every financial journey is this invisible ledger, tracking your verbal deposits and withdrawals. Those who master abundance understand that their words aren't just expressions of feeling, they're declarations of intention that the universe takes quite literally. They guard their speech with the same vigilance they would guard their physical wallet, understanding that careless words create careless results. The transformative journey begins when you realize that your mouth is literally your most powerful financial tool. Not your education, not your skills, not even your connections, but the words you choose to speak about money day after day. This revelation changes everything because you start approaching conversation not just as social exchange, but as financial programming. The hidden truth that most people miss is that the universe doesn't distinguish between serious declarations and casual comments. It doesn't filter out your jokes or dismiss your complaints as temporary frustrations. It simply receives your words as direct orders and begins rearranging physical reality to match them with remarkable precision. This understanding invites a profound mindset shift in how you approach every conversation. You begin to recognize that financial breakthrough doesn't begin with a better job or investment strategy. It begins with conscious language that programs abundance rather than lack, prosperity rather than poverty, expansion rather than limitation. Write in the comments, "I'm watching my words," if you're beginning to see how your everyday speech might be creating your financial reality. Now, I want to go even deeper into the true nature of these spiritual laws. The transformation happens when you realize that these 7 divine laws aren't motivational advice or positive thinking techniques. They're precise spiritual codes that function with mathematical accuracy. Just like entering the correct combination opens a safe, aligning with these laws in exact sequence unlocks the vault of divine supply. There's no room for approximation or casual application. They either work completely or not at all. This is where most people miss the mark. They treat spiritual principles like suggestions they can follow when convenient, mixing and matching according to their mood or circumstances. But divine law doesn't bend to human convenience. It operates on the same unwavering principles as gravity or electricity. You don't negotiate with gravity. You either align with it or face the consequences. The same applies to these spiritual laws governing financial flow. They don't care about your intentions, your worthiness, or even your hard work. They only respond to alignment. Either you're in harmony with them and experience their benefits, or you're misaligned and experience limitation. Behind the scenes of every financial breakthrough is this hidden truth. Someone discovered the exact vibrational code that unlocks prosperity and applied it with disciplined consistency. They didn't just understand these principles intellectually. They embodied them completely through daily practice until they became second nature. This revelation completely shifts your approach to wealth building. Instead of hoping for financial miracles or waiting for your circumstances to change, you begin consciously operating the precise spiritual codes that govern universal abundance. The impact of this understanding transforms your relationship with money because you're no longer leaving your prosperity to chance or external factors. You're actively aligning with the mathematical precision of divine law. The journey toward financial freedom requires understanding that these principles work through consistency, not intensity. Most people approach spiritual practice like exercise. They believe an occasional intense session will compensate for weeks of inaction. But these laws respond to steady, persistent alignment rather than sporadic bursts of effort. Think about how electricity works. You don't need to understand the complex physics behind it to benefit from it. You simply need to flip the switch consistently to keep the lights on. The same applies to these divine laws. You don't need to comprehend every nuance of spiritual mechanics. You just need to apply them consistently enough that they become your default operating system. The hidden truth behind why most people fail to experience lasting financial transformation is that they practice these principles when they remember, when they feel inspired, or when their circumstances aren't too distracting. But divine law doesn't recognize partial compliance any more than mathematics recognizes partial correctness. Write in the comments, "I choose consistency," if you're beginning to understand that spiritual laws require regular application rather than occasional attention. The journey from financial struggle to abundance isn't about learning new strategies or finding better opportunities. It's about recognizing that you already possess the master key to unlimited supply, your conscious alignment with these divine frequencies. The vault has always been there, waiting for someone who understands the combination. This revelation transforms how you approach wealth creation entirely. Instead of hoping for financial breakthroughs, crossing your fingers for lucky breaks, or praying for circumstances to somehow change in your favor, you begin engineering your prosperity through precise spiritual compliance. This isn't about manipulating external conditions, but about aligning your inner state with the exact frequency that money recognizes and responds to. Behind the scenes of every financial miracle is this same principle at work. Someone stopped leaving their prosperity to chance and started operating the exact codes that govern universal abundance. They shifted from passive hoping to active commanding, from anxious waiting to confident creating. They discovered that financial breakthroughs can be engineered with the same precision that an architect designs a building or a composer arranges a symphony. The hidden truth that changes everything is understanding that 99% of people will never discover these laws because they're too busy chasing money through conventional strategies that actually work against spiritual abundance. They're caught in an endless cycle of panic and striving, applying external tactics while remaining completely locked out of the inner sanctuary where true wealth is generated. Watch people around you, and you'll see this pattern everywhere. They're following the latest investment trends, switching careers, hoping for better pay, cutting expenses to the bone, or starting side hustles that exhaust them. Behind the scenes, they're operating from fear, scarcity, and desperation, the exact frequencies that repel abundance. It's like trying to tune into a radio station while broadcasting static on the same frequency. The impact of this revelation is immediate and profound because it shifts your entire approach to wealth building. You stop exhausting yourself with endless external strategies and start focusing on the internal alignment that makes those strategies effective. You recognize that financial transformation begins within before it can manifest without. This understanding completely revolutionizes your relationship with money because you realize the power has always been yours. You don't need to wait for economic conditions to improve, for a better job opportunity to appear, or for someone to rescue you financially. You already possess everything you need to create abundance through conscious alignment with these divine laws. Write in the comments, "I have the master key," if you're beginning to recognize that you already possess the power to transform your financial reality through spiritual alignment. Now, I want to go even deeper into a hidden truth that completely revolutionizes how we understand wealth creation. The most profound revelation behind financial transformation isn't about finding the right strategy or opportunity. It's about recognizing that money has no moral character whatsoever. It's neither good nor evil, virtuous nor corrupt. Money is completely neutral. It simply responds obediently to whatever vibrational frequency you emit, serving whoever commands it through proper spiritual alignment, regardless of their background, education, or even their perceived goodness. This revelation dismantles so many limiting beliefs that keep people trapped in financial mediocrity. You don't need to be more deserving, more educated, or more worthy to attract abundance. You don't need to sacrifice your values or compromise your integrity. Money doesn't judge your past decisions or current circumstances. It only recognizes frequency. Think about this for a moment. Money flows to drug dealers and saints alike, to college dropouts and PhD holders, to people with perfect moral records and those with complicated histories. The determining factor isn't character assessment, it's vibrational alignment. Money serves whoever speaks its language fluently through consistent spiritual frequency. This understanding completely transforms your relationship with wealth because it removes all the emotional baggage and moral confusion that clouds most people's financial decisions. You stop wondering if you deserve abundance and start focusing on becoming vibrationally aligned with it. You stop judging wealthy people or creating stories about why money avoids you, and you start operating the precise spiritual mechanics that govern financial flow. The journey becomes surprisingly straightforward once you realize you're not competing for limited resources or trying to prove your worthiness to some cosmic judge. You're simply learning to broadcast the correct frequency that money recognizes and responds to automatically. Behind the scenes of this revelation is the equalizing power of spiritual law. It doesn't play favorites or make exceptions. It responds with mathematical precision to alignment, regardless of your starting point, your education level, or your social connections. This is why we sometimes see people from humble beginnings build enormous wealth, while those with every advantage struggle financially. The difference isn't their circumstances, but their vibrational alignment. The impact of this shift in perspective is immediate and profound because it eliminates the internal resistance that sabotages most people's financial efforts before they even begin. You stop questioning whether you're worthy of abundance and start focusing on whether you're aligned with it. You recognize that money isn't personal, it's principle. It doesn't respond to who you are, but to the frequency you broadcast. This understanding leads us to a deeper realization that money is essentially spirit in motion, spiritual energy that has taken physical form and responds directly to the orders of those who stand in truth and proper alignment. Write in the comments, "Money is neutral." if this perspective is starting to reshape how you think about wealth and abundance. Money is not emotional, it's not personal, and it doesn't get offended or play favorites. It operates as a neutral force that follows spiritual laws with the same mathematical precision as physics or chemistry. This revelation dismantles one of the most significant barriers to financial abundance, the emotional baggage that most people unknowingly carry around wealth. Think about this transformation in perspective. Instead of seeing money as something external that you need to chase, capture, or convince to come to you, you begin recognizing it as responsive energy that's simply waiting for clear, consistent direction from someone who understands how to communicate in its language. Most people have complicated, emotional relationships with money. Guilt about wanting it, shame about not having enough, fear about losing it, anxiety about managing it. These emotional entanglements create energetic static that disrupts the clear frequency needed to attract abundance. When you understand money's neutrality, you free yourself from this unnecessary emotional weight. You stop questioning whether you deserve prosperity and start focusing solely on alignment. Behind the scenes of every financial transformation is this profound liberation from emotional confusion around wealth. Someone released their guilt about wanting abundance, their shame about past financial mistakes, their judgment of wealthy people, and their fear of becoming too materialistic. They recognized that these emotional attachments were creating vibrational interference that blocked their prosperity. The hidden truth that changes everything is understanding that your bank account isn't just reflecting your actions or circumstances. It's mirroring the level of prosperity your soul has achieved. Your financial reality is essentially a printout of your spiritual condition, a precise reflection of your soul's relationship with abundance. This revelation leads to a profound shift in approach. Instead of trying to change your financial circumstances directly, you begin focusing on nurturing your soul's prosperity first. When your inner world expands through spoken word, obedience to divine principles, and genuine expectation of good, your outer world naturally reorganizes itself to match this new frequency. Think about the implications of this understanding. When you're constantly worried about bills, stressed about money, or exhausted from financial pressure, how much energy do you have left for spiritual growth, serving others, or fulfilling your higher purpose? Financial stress doesn't purify the soul, it distracts it from its true calling. The journey toward financial freedom begins with nurturing your soul's prosperity. Through conscious decisions about what you speak, what you expect, and how consistently you align with divine principles, your outer circumstances will inevitably reorganize themselves to match your inner condition. The impact of this understanding shifts everything because you stop trying to manipulate external circumstances and start focusing on the internal transformation that makes abundance inevitable. Your financial breakthrough begins not with a better strategy, but with a more prosperous soul. Write in the comments, inner wealth creates outer wealth, if you're beginning to see how your soul's prosperity directly affects your material abundance. Now, I want to go even deeper into understanding the essential nature of money itself. When you truly grasp this concept, it completely transforms your relationship with abundance. Money is not just paper and metal, it's actually spirit in motion. It's spiritual energy that has taken physical form and responds directly to the orders of those who stand in truth and proper alignment. This isn't mystical thinking, it's understanding the fundamental nature of all creation. Everything in our physical world, including money, is essentially energy vibrating at different frequencies. Money simply represents concentrated energy that flows according to spiritual laws with the same mathematical precision as physics or chemistry. Think about this transformation in perspective. Instead of seeing money as something scarce that you must compete for, you begin recognizing it as responsive energy that's simply waiting for clear, consistent direction from someone who understands how to communicate in its language. The hidden truth behind why so many people struggle financially becomes crystal clear when you understand that the universal intelligence governing abundance operates with extraordinary precision. This divine mind that orchestrates all financial flow will not release overflow into contradictory or confused vibrational states. It waits patiently, sometimes for years or even decades, for your internal frequency to match divine alignment before releasing financial supply into your experience. This explains why desperate people rarely attract abundance, why anxious entrepreneurs often sabotage their own success, and why those who most need money frequently repel it. The universe isn't being cruel or withholding. It's simply following its own perfect logic. Confusion creates confusion. Desperation attracts more reasons to be desperate, and scattered energy produces scattered results. Behind the scenes of every financial breakthrough is a moment when someone achieved internal clarity that allowed the universe to respond with mathematical precision. The impact of this revelation changes your entire approach to wealth creation. Instead of trying to force outcomes through willpower and intense effort, you begin focusing on achieving internal clarity and alignment first. Instead of wondering why your financial prayers seem unanswered, you start examining whether your vibrational signal is clear enough for the universe to safely respond. The journey becomes about achieving coherence between your conscious desires and your subconscious programming, between what you say you want and what you actually expect to receive. When this alignment happens, money begins flowing, not because you've worked harder or found better strategies, but because you've finally created the internal conditions that allow divine supply to move through you safely. Think about radio waves for a moment. They're constantly surrounding us, but we can only access them when our receiver is properly tuned to their frequency. The same principle applies to financial abundance. It's already available in unlimited supply, but it can only flow into your experience when your internal frequency is properly tuned to receive it. Write in the comments, clarity over confusion, if you're beginning to see how your internal state directly impacts your external financial reality. This understanding leads us to one of the most counterintuitive revelations about wealth creation. Your financial breakthrough isn't about getting your conscious and subconscious minds to agree. It's about achieving complete coherence between all aspects of your being. Most people experience internal conflict that sabotages their abundance before it can manifest. They consciously desire wealth while subconsciously fearing it. They affirm prosperity in the morning while worrying about bills at night. They speak abundance while expecting limitation. This contradiction creates scrambled signals that confuse the universe and delay financial breakthroughs indefinitely. It's like trying to drive with one foot on the accelerator and the other on the brake. You might move forward slightly, but you'll never reach your destination. Behind the scenes of every financial miracle is someone who achieved internal coherence. They aligned their conscious desires, subconscious programming, spoken words and daily actions into one clear, consistent signal that the universe could respond to with precision. The hidden truth that changes everything is that this alignment isn't actually about positive thinking or visualization. It's about obedience to spiritual law. And this brings us to an even more profound revelation that will completely transform how you approach wealth creation. True abundance doesn't flow to the cleverest people, the most educated, or even the most deserving. It flows to the obedient. Wealth is revealed to those who consistently align with divine spiritual principles through daily, exact, and unapologetic adherence to these universal laws, regardless of their background or intellectual capacity. You've probably witnessed this phenomenon without realizing it. The brilliant MBA graduate struggling with debt, while the high school dropout builds a fortune. The kind-hearted social worker barely making ends meet, while someone with questionable ethics enjoys abundant prosperity. The determining factor isn't intelligence, education, or moral character. It's spiritual obedience to the laws that govern financial flow. This transformation in understanding removes the frustration and confusion that keeps most people trapped in financial limitation. You stop wondering why life seems unfair or why your good intentions don't translate into material abundance. Instead, you begin focusing on the precise spiritual mechanics that actually control wealth distribution in the universe. Think about this revelation for a moment. The universe doesn't reward your education, your cleverness, or even your hard work directly. It responds to your alignment with spiritual law. This is why some people who seem to do everything right still struggle financially, while others who appear to break all the rules prosper abundantly. The first group might be working hard, but misaligned with divine principles. The second group might be intuitively obedient to spiritual law without even realizing it. The journey toward financial transformation requires understanding that wealth operates through spiritual obedience rather than worldly achievement. Behind the scenes of every sustained fortune is this same principle. Someone discovered the divine laws governing abundance and chose daily obedience over occasional compliance. They understood that spiritual principles work through consistency, not intensity, and that alignment is a practice, not a one-time decision. Write in the comments, divine obedience, if you're ready to approach wealth building as a spiritual practice rather than a worldly struggle. The hidden truth becomes even more powerful when you realize that divine will actually supports your financial prosperity, not your lack. The biblical blueprint in 3 John verse 2 states, "Beloved, I wish above all things that thou mayest prosper and be in health, even as thy soul prospereth." This isn't religious rhetoric. It's a spiritual instruction manual revealing that prosperity is part of your divine design. The impact of this revelation dismantles the guilt, shame, and confusion that many people carry around wealth. You're not being selfish by desiring abundance. You're aligning with divine intention. You're not taking from others by prospering. You're fulfilling your spiritual blueprint. The universe doesn't want you broke, struggling, or sacrificing. It wants you prosperous as a reflection of your soul's expansion and spiritual development. Think about this transformation in perspective. For centuries, people have been conditioned to believe that wealth and spirituality are somehow in opposition, that to be spiritual means to embrace poverty, or that material abundance somehow diminishes your spiritual connection. But this couldn't be further from the truth. Divine will actively supports your prosperity, because abundance gives you greater capacity to fulfill your purpose and serve others. Behind the scenes of every genuine spiritual teaching is this same truth, that your material experience is meant to reflect your spiritual understanding. When you align with divine abundance principles, you're not pursuing wealth for ego gratification. You're allowing the natural expression of spiritual law to manifest through your experience. The journey toward financial transformation becomes a spiritual practice of daily alignment rather than a desperate chase for external solutions. You begin treating wealth creation as sacred work, approaching these divine laws with the same reverence and consistency you would any spiritual discipline. Most people approach money from a completely worldly perspective, chasing it through stress, strain, and struggle, treating it as something separate from their spiritual life. But the hidden truth that changes everything is understanding that your relationship with money is actually one of the most significant spiritual relationships in your life. How you think about money, speak about money, and interact with money reveals your deepest beliefs about the universe and your place in it. This revelation transforms wealth creation from mundane financial management into sacred practice. Every financial decision becomes an opportunity to demonstrate your alignment with divine principle. Every transaction becomes a moment to practice conscious creation. Every dollar that flows through your life becomes a carrier of spiritual energy that you can direct with intention and awareness. The impact of this understanding shifts everything because you stop compartmentalizing your financial life and spiritual life. You recognize that they're one and the same, different expressions of the same divine principles operating in every area of your experience. The prosperity you create materially becomes a direct reflection of the prosperity you've cultivated spiritually. Write in the comments, sacred prosperity, if you're beginning to see how wealth creation can be a spiritual practice rather than a worldly pursuit. Now, I want to go even deeper into a revelation that completely dismantles one of the most destructive beliefs embedded in our culture. It's the false notion that poverty is somehow pious, or that struggling financially makes you more spiritual. This couldn't be further from the truth. Poverty is not a virtue, scarcity is not sacred, and financial lack does not bring you closer to divine purpose. In fact, the opposite is true. You are meant to prosper because you are a vessel of divine identity, and lack contradicts your true spiritual nature. Think about this transformation in perspective. When you're constantly worried about bills, stressed about money, or exhausted from financial pressure, how much energy do you have left for spiritual growth, serving others, or fulfilling your higher purpose? Financial stress doesn't purify the soul. It distracts it from its true calling. The hidden truth behind authentic spiritual teaching is that your outer world reflects your inner condition. When your soul begins to prosper through spoken word, obedience to divine principles, and genuine expectation of good, money, and opportunities begin responding to you with the same natural inevitability that waves respond to the gravitational pull of the moon. This is where the real transformation happens, not through grinding harder or applying more external strategies, but through cultivating internal prosperity first. Your soul's expansion creates the energetic foundation that draws material abundance effortlessly into your experience. It's not about deserving more money. It's about becoming the kind of person whose inner richness naturally magnetizes outer wealth. Behind the scenes of every lasting financial breakthrough is this same principle operating. Someone aligned their inner prosperity with their outer circumstances, and the universe responded by rearranging physical reality to match their spiritual condition. The journey becomes about nurturing your soul's prosperity through conscious decisions about what you speak, what you expect, and how consistently you align with divine principles. The impact of this understanding shifts everything because you stop trying to manipulate external circumstances and start focusing on the internal transformation that makes abundance inevitable. You realize that your bank account is simply reflecting back to you the level of prosperity your soul has achieved through spiritual practice. The revelations within this principle explain why some people can lose everything and rebuild quickly, while others struggle for decades despite having all the right opportunities and resources. The difference isn't found in their external circumstances, but in their internal prosperity. One person maintains their abundance consciousness even when physically broke, allowing them to quickly recreate wealth. The other remains in poverty consciousness even when surrounded by opportunity, causing them to sabotage potential breakthroughs. Write in the comments, "My prosperity starts within," if you're beginning to see how cultivating inner abundance directly affects your external financial reality. This understanding leads us to a crucial distinction that separates those who experience financial breakthroughs from those who remain trapped in intellectual understanding without results. Your bank account isn't just a collection of numbers. It's a spiritual mirror reflecting the exact level of prosperity consciousness your soul has achieved. When you look at your financial situation, you're not seeing random circumstances or bad luck. You're seeing a precise reflection of your inner prosperity. This revelation explains one of life's most perplexing mysteries: why some people can lose everything and rebuild their fortunes seemingly overnight, while others struggle for decades despite having access to the same opportunities and resources. The difference lies not in their external circumstances, but in the level of prosperity their souls have achieved through spiritual practice. Those who rebuild quickly maintain their abundance consciousness even when physically broke. Their inner prosperity remains intact, allowing them to recreate wealth with remarkable speed. Meanwhile, those who struggle for years remain locked in poverty consciousness even when surrounded by opportunity, unconsciously sabotaging potential. Breakthroughs before they can manifest. The hidden truth behind lasting financial transformation is that these 7 divine laws are not meant for endless analysis, debate, or philosophical discussion. They're designed for immediate, practical application through spoken word, repeated practice, and complete embodiment until your subconscious mind accepts them as absolute truth. Most people approach spiritual principles like academic subjects. They study them, discuss them, analyze their implications, and try to understand every nuance before taking action. But divine law doesn't respond to intellectual comprehension. It responds to vibrational embodiment. You could spend years studying these principles without experiencing any transformation in your financial reality if you're not actively speaking them, practicing them, and living them daily. Behind the scenes of lasting wealth creation is the understanding that these principles function as spiritual frequencies that you must become, rather than tools you occasionally pick up and use. You don't dabble in frequency. You either embody it completely or you remain outside its influence. It's like trying to tune into a radio station by thinking about the frequency instead of actually adjusting your receiver to match it. This transformation requires a complete shift from knowing about abundance to becoming abundance itself. When you truly embody these frequencies, you stop trying to attract money and start naturally emanating the vibration that money recognizes and responds to. The journey becomes about aligning your entire being, your thoughts, words, expectations, and daily actions with the frequency of prosperity. The impact of this approach is immediate and profound, because your subconscious mind only accepts what you repeatedly demonstrate through consistent action and spoken word. Reading about abundance principles once or twice has minimal effect, but speaking them daily, practicing them consistently, and embodying them completely rewrites your internal programming at the deepest level. The revelations that come through embodiment rather than analysis create lasting transformation because you're not just changing your thinking, you're changing your entire energetic signature. Now, I want to reveal the first divine law that will fundamentally transform how you approach every conversation, every internal dialogue, and every casual comment you make throughout your day. Write in the comments, embodiment over analysis, if you're ready to stop studying wealth principles and start living them completely. The transformation happens when you realize that these divine laws aren't something you apply occasionally, like a technique or strategy. They become who you are. Just as water doesn't try to be wet, it simply is wet by nature. You don't try to align with abundance principles. You become them so completely that you naturally emanate the exact frequency that money recognizes and responds. 2. Most people approach wealth principles as external tools they pick up when convenient and set down when life gets busy or challenging. But this approach creates inconsistent results because frequency requires complete embodiment. Think about how a radio transmitter works. It doesn't occasionally broadcast its signal. It maintains a consistent frequency that receivers can tune into reliably. Your relationship with abundance works the same way. Behind the scenes of every financial miracle is someone who stopped trying to attract money and started being the energetic equivalent of what they wanted to experience. They made a fundamental identity shift from someone seeking prosperity to someone who is prosperity in human form. This isn't semantic wordplay, it's vibrational transformation at the deepest level. The hidden truth behind lasting wealth creation is that your subconscious mind only accepts what you consistently demonstrate through repeated action and spoken word. Reading a book about abundance once has minimal effect. Attending a prosperity seminar occasionally creates temporary inspiration. But speaking these principles daily, practicing them consistently, and embodying them completely rewrites your internal programming at the core level. Think of it like learning a language. Reading about French grammar once doesn't make you fluent, but immersing yourself in the language daily, speaking it, thinking in it, dreaming in it, eventually transforms you into a French speaker naturally. Your relationship with abundance works the same way. Daily immersion in these principles doesn't just change what you know, it changes who you are. The journey toward complete embodiment requires patience and persistence because you're literally rewiring neural pathways that have been established over decades. Your brain has created strong associations between money and struggle, between wealth and difficulty. These connections don't dissolve overnight, but with consistent practice, new pathways form that associate abundance with ease, wealth with naturalness, and prosperity with inevitability. The impact of this consistent reprogramming extends far beyond your financial reality. When you embody abundance at this level, every area of your life begins responding differently. Your relationships improve, your health enhances, your creativity expands. This happens because you're no longer broadcasting the frequency of lack in any dimension of your experience. The revelations that come through consistent practice rather than sporadic application create permanent transformation because you're not just adopting new behaviors, you're becoming a new person. Your entire energetic signature shifts from scarcity to abundance, from limitation to expansion, from fear to confidence, and the universe has no choice but to respond to this new broadcast with matching experiences. Write in the comments, "I am the frequency," if you're ready to stop occasionally using these principles and start completely embodying them in every moment of your day. Now I want to reveal the first divine law that will fundamentally transform how you approach every conversation, every internal dialogue, and every casual comment you make throughout your day. The law of the word operates on a principle that most people never grasp. Every single word you speak creates a spiritual mold into which divine substance is automatically poured. Think about this revelation for a moment. Your words aren't just sounds that disappear into the air. They're creative forces that literally shape the substance of your life experience. When you speak from fear, doubt, or limitation, you're creating scarcity molds that the universe fills with matching experiences. When you speak from faith, expectation, and abundance, you're creating supply molds that attract prosperity into your reality. The hidden truth behind this process is that the spiritual world operates with recording precision. It listens constantly to every word you speak and multiplies what it hears without questioning the wisdom, truth, or consequences of your statements. The universe doesn't filter your words through logic or protect you from poor choices. It simply responds to your vibrational instruction with mathematical accuracy. This means when you casually say, "I'm always behind on my bills," you're giving the universe a direct order to create more situations where you're behind. When you joke, "I'm so broke," You're programming your reality for continued financial lack. But here's where the transformation happens. When you consciously declare, "I'm abundantly provided for," you're literally molding your future experiences around that frequency. The impact of understanding this law changes everything, because you realize your mouth isn't just for communication. It's your primary tool for reality creation. Behind the scenes of every financial struggle is unconscious negative programming delivered through careless speech patterns that most people repeat thousands of times without awareness. The journey toward financial transformation begins the moment you take complete responsibility for every word that comes out of your mouth. You stop treating conversation as casual commentary and start approaching it as sacred creation work. You begin speaking intentionally rather than reactively, understanding that your words are literally building your tomorrow's experiences. This revelation might seem simple, but its application is profound. Most people have never considered that their casual complaints about money are actually instructions to the universe. When you say, "I can never afford what I really want," you're not just describing your current situation, you're issuing a creative command that ensures this limitation continues. The transformation in your financial reality begins when you recognize that your words are programming your future, not just describing your present. This understanding leads to a profound shift in perspective that most people never make in their entire lifetime. Your mouth was never designed to function as a thermometer that simply reports current conditions. It's meant to operate as a creative instrument that actively shapes and rewrites your reality with every sentence you speak. Write in the comments, "My words create my world," if you're ready to transform your relationship with language and begin speaking your abundance into existence. Most people spend their lives echoing their bank account balance instead of authoring their financial future through conscious word choice. Think about the conversations you've had this week. How often did you describe your current financial situation as if you were reading numbers off a screen? How frequently did you complain about bills, joke about being broke, or express worry about money? Each time you did this, you were essentially programming the universe to maintain those exact conditions, rather than transforming them. The hidden truth behind lasting financial transformation is that you must stop treating your mouth like a news reporter and start using it like a master architect. Instead of saying, "I can't afford that," you begin declaring, "My supply meets every demand." Instead of complaining, "Money is so tight," you start affirming, "Abundance flows easily into my life." This isn't positive thinking. It's reality engineering through conscious creation. The transformation happens when you realize that until your speech becomes sacred and intentional, your money cannot become stable. There's a direct, unbreakable connection between conscious speaking and financial stability. According to spiritual law, your words either stabilize or destabilize your financial flow based on their vibrational frequency and creative power. Behind the scenes of every person with consistent financial stability is someone who learned to guard their words like precious seeds. Understanding that careless speech patterns create chaotic money patterns, while deliberate declarations create steady, abundant streams. The impact of this revelation changes your entire relationship with communication, because you begin approaching every conversation as an opportunity to strengthen your financial foundation. Now, I want to go even deeper into understanding the second divine law that works in perfect harmony with your words to create unstoppable abundance flow. The law of circulation reveals that money is meant to move, flow, and circulate, never to be gripped, hoarded, or held in fear. Money is literally spirit in motion. And like all spiritual energy, it expands when released in faith and contracts when held in fear. perfectly honoring whatever vibration you emit around it. Most people treat money like a precious resource they need to protect and preserve, clutching it tightly out of fear that there won't be enough. But this approach actually works against the very nature of money itself. Spiritual energy cannot multiply in stagnation. It requires movement, flow, and circulation to expand and return to you amplified. The journey toward mastering circulation requires rewiring deep survival instincts that tell you to hoard and protect, but divine law cannot multiply abundance in an atmosphere of suspicion, anxiety, or tight-fisted control. It requires flow, movement, and the kind of confidence that comes from understanding money as cooperative spiritual energy rather than competitive material resource. The revelations that come through practicing conscious circulation extend far beyond your bank account because you begin experiencing how all forms of energy respond to the same principle of release and return. When you give, invest, and spend from a place of abundance rather than fear, you create an open channel through which more can flow back to you. Write in the comments, "I trust the flow," if you're ready to release the fear-based grip on money and start circulating with confidence and expectation. This understanding takes us deeper into the mechanics of conscious circulation, because it's not enough to simply release money with good intentions. Every dollar you release should be accompanied by spoken declaration of its return. This single practice transforms ordinary spending into spiritual transactions that command multiplication and activate the circulation loop with divine precision. Most people release money silently, hoping for the best, but not actively directing its return. They pay bills, make investments, or give gifts without ever speaking over the transaction or declaring their expectation of abundance flowing back to them. But when you add conscious declaration to every financial release, you're essentially programming the universe with specific instructions about how that energy should multiply and return to your experience. The transformation happens when you realize that tithing, gifting, and investing are not merely material decisions about moving money from one account to another. They're spiritual transactions that either expand or contract your abundance pipeline based on the frequency and declaration you bring to them. When performed with proper vibrational alignment and spoken word, these activities call forth exponential return rather than loss. Think about this shift in perspective. Instead of grimacing when you pay bills, you begin declaring, "This payment activates my supply." Channels. Instead of reluctantly giving gifts, you joyfully proclaim, "What I release returns to me, multiplied." Instead of nervously making investments, you confidently affirm, "This seed produces abundant harvest in perfect timing." The hidden truth behind why some people experience miraculous returns on their giving while others feel depleted is found in this practice of conscious declaration. Behind the scenes of every financial miracle is someone who learned to speak over every transaction, turning routine money movements into powerful spiritual activations that command the universe's cooperation. Now, I want to go even deeper into the third divine law that bridges the gap between spiritual principle and physical manifestation in the most profound way. The law of assumption requires that you walk, speak, breathe, and expect as if your financial demonstration is already complete. Because in divine mind, it already is. What delays the visible manifestation is not divine timing or external circumstances. It's your own refusal to step into the feeling of completion. This transformation in approach challenges everything most people believe about manifestation because it requires you to live from the end result rather than working toward it. Most people operate from a vibration of striving, hoping, and waiting for their abundance to arrive. But this very frequency of expectation actually delays what you're trying to create, because you cannot manifest wealth while vibrating in a state of waiting or hoping. The hidden truth behind instantaneous financial breakthroughs is that someone collapsed the timeline and assumed the frequency of fulfillment now, living as if their supply was already released into their experience. They stopped asking, "When will my money come?" and started operating from, "My abundance is here now." Write in the comments, "It is already done," if you're ready to step into the frequency of financial completion rather than continuing to wait for abundance to arrive. Now I want to go even deeper into understanding the fourth divine law that amplifies everything we've discussed so far through a practice that most people completely misunderstand. The law of tithing with word reveals that tithing is not religious obligation, guilt-driven duty, or superstitious ritual. It's spiritual alignment that activates abundant flow when done with conscious declaration and specific intention. Most people approach giving from exactly the wrong frequency. They give money and hope for the best, treating tithing like a cosmic lottery ticket where they're not sure if anything will come back. But the few who understand this law give money and command return through spoken word, transforming ordinary giving into powerful spiritual activation that the universe must respond to. This understanding takes tithing to its deepest spiritual level, because true tithing is not about giving to individuals, organizations, or even causes you believe in. It's about giving to spiritual principle itself, acknowledging that spirit is your ultimate source rather than any person, job, or institution. When you tithe from this perspective, you're not trying to support someone else's work. You're honoring the universal law that governs all supply and circulation. The transformation happens when you realize that authentic tithing is done from covenant rather than emotion. It's not about feeling moved by someone's story, guilted into giving, or hoping to earn favor through generosity. It's about entering into spiritual contract with the law of circulation itself, sealing your participation in divine flow through conscious giving that acknowledges the source of all abundance. Behind the scenes of every miraculous multiplication is a person who understood that their giving was actually a declaration of faith in universal supply, not a transaction with limited human resources. But here's where most people miss the full power of this practice. You must never give in silence again. Every act of generosity must be accompanied by spoken declaration that waters the seed you're planting with your voice. The journey toward mastering declared giving requires developing the habit of never releasing money without speaking your expectation over it, understanding that your words are the activating force that distinguishes random generosity from strategic spiritual investment. The revelations that come through this practice teach you that every seed you plant in any area of life requires the water of spoken word to produce maximum harvest. Now, all the divine laws we've explored create incredible potential for financial transformation. But there's a seventh and final divine law that determines whether you'll actually experience lasting change or simply remain an educated observer of spiritual principles. The law of obedience reveals that you cannot command money if you refuse to obey spiritual law consistently. This isn't about achieving perfection or never making mistakes. It's about developing the kind of daily, intentional, sacred repetition that reshapes your entire reality through rhythm. Most people approach spiritual principles like a buffet, picking and choosing which laws they'll follow based on their mood, convenience, or current circumstances. But divine law doesn't respond to casual application. It responds to consistent obedience that creates new patterns in your subconscious programming. Write in the comments, "I choose daily obedience," if you're ready to move beyond studying these laws and start living them through consistent daily practice. If you've stayed with me through this entire journey of the 7 divine laws, You're clearly someone who's ready for real transformation, not just surface-level motivation. The fact that you're still here tells me everything I need to know about your commitment to changing your financial reality through spiritual alignment rather than just hoping for lucky breaks. These laws we've explored together aren't going anywhere. They'll be working in your life whether you consciously apply them or not. But now, you have the choice to work with them intentionally, to become someone who commands abundance rather than chases it. This is exactly the kind of deep, practical, spiritual content I share here because I believe you deserve to understand how the universe actually operates behind the scenes. If this resonates with you, if you can feel these principles stirring, something inside that knows this is your path forward, I'd love for you to subscribe to the channel. There's so much more to explore about the intersection of spiritual law and practical abundance, and I want to continue this conversation with you. Let me know you made it all the way through by writing "I'm ready to command" in the comments below. When I see that phrase, I'll know you're serious about this transformation and not just looking for quick fixes or temporary inspiration. And if this content created that spark of recognition, that feeling of "this is what I've been looking for," go ahead and hit the like button. It helps me know these deeper teachings are reaching the right people, those who are ready to do the inner work that creates outer change. There's a video right here that complements this topic perfectly, diving even deeper into how your spiritual identity shapes your material reality. Click and continue with me over there, because this is just the beginning of what's possible when you align with divine law.